Greetings. Today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to go over my once infamous art classroom rules from when I was back in the art classroom on a daily basis. These are rules that I built over the course of 11 years of teaching middle school and high school students. And so I feel right off the bat, one of the caveats I have to throw out there is some of these will be reflective of me from 11 years ago, but we'll get some nice unhinged reactions to those things as we begin going through these rules. I'm going to read through these and give some background on where each of them come from, as much as I remember. In some cases, this rule might have occurred 10 years ago, and so maybe I'll remember, maybe I won't. I haven't gone through them ahead of time. Again, so you get more of a genuine reaction here. So I'm unscripted from this point on, and we'll just see how this goes. All right. Rule 1. The inclusion of light makes things look realistic. Well, that seems pretty commonplace, pretty self-explanatory. In talking to my students, a lot of times they wanted the trick on how to draw a tree or how to draw a face or how to draw an eye. And most of them found that learning how to shade, learning how to add that value structure into their pieces often made them look more realistic. And what they're really doing, what all of us are really doing when we add in shading, is we're adding in the not lighted areas. So understanding what is getting hit by light and what isn't really allows us to add that value in and make it look good, make it look correct. And so, yeah, I think that's a really reasonable one. So we're off to a good start. Rule 2. If the white of the paper is visible through your coloring, it is not finished yet. So this one comes from years of working with younger kids, primarily students who would rush through things and just try to have it done as quickly as possible. One of the banes of my existence as an art teacher was the question, am I finished yet? Am I done yet? And I would often fire back equally passive-aggressive comments at them along the lines of like, well, I don't know. Do you think you're finished with it? I'm not sure that was the best idea. But, a lot of that was a decade ago when I was working with elementary students, really at the early on parts of my career before I was working exclusively with middle and high school students. There is some truth to that, but you may have noticed in some of my paintings, I often leave portions of them visible, portions of the background visible that you can see in the finished product. But I almost always take away the white of the paper. I try to tone it and have it be pink or orange or yellow or something along those lines. So there is some truth here. I think it's really just about intent. So if your intention was to cover everything, if your intention is to make it look good or realistic and you just forgot about toning your page or your canvas and you've got white shining through, maybe it isn't done. Maybe you can go back and take a look at that. Rule 3. Do not use outlines unless the piece requires outlines. I think that's just a general good rule. We learn as kids to draw outlines on everything, or we just do that. Part of that probably comes from our early schemas, learning how to draw a tree, having our parents show us how to draw a star or a heart or something along those lines. Even when we learn letters and numbers, they are outlines, essentially. And it's just an easy thing for us to rely on and fall back to. But real life doesn't have outlines. Sometimes they need to be added in to make things look better or to stick out. But that's what that's going for, is just don't put an outline on everything, especially when you're painting. Especially when you're painting. Sometimes good, not always good. Rule 4. Green paint is for quitters. So this just goes straight to the fact that often green paint, acrylic or watercolor or oil, just looks so fake. There's so many colors of green in our world that you just benefit from mixing your own. As I've gotten older and more experienced and less stubborn, I've realized that you can sometimes shortcut by using green paint, but frequently it's just, actually almost always, it's going to be best to mix that green with something else. Mix it with a brown or a red to tone it down. Mix it with some yellow or some blue to kind of pull it more towards one of those chromatic sides. So I like that rule. It's got a little bit of passive aggressiveness in it, which is, which makes sense for working with young kids sometimes when it comes to just getting the green paint out. And I painted this entire side of a mountain or all these trees green. It's like, yeah, I can tell they all look identical. All right, rule 5. You cannot make fun of new students on Mondays. So kind of our first one that's a little bit strange or out of the ordinary. But this just came out of, I had a particular student who joined my class maybe 6-7 years ago, and they were just getting hassled by all the other students so much. And it was hard to tell if this new kid was taking it in stride or was actually like secretly resenting it and having their feelings hurt. So I just established this as the new rule. Like, you have to give the new kid Mondays. The immediate questions that followed was, well, how long does this rule stay in effect? And I think we determined that it's for a semester. So yeah, for the first like 4.5 months that you are new, they can't hassle you on Mondays. You have to have Monday just to be groggy and out to lunch like everybody else, and they can't give you a hard time. So I like that one. 6. You may not use conglomerate words such as ginormous in class discussions. Okay, so this is just a pet peeve. Ginormous is a combination of enormous and gigantic, and although it is now part of the dictionary, it doesn't need to exist. It's simply two synonyms attached to each other to make a super synonym. So it made students in presentations, and myself included, sound a little bit less professional, and often what we were going for was to try to help the students understand how to be professional in their conversations and in their presentations. So I wouldn't stick to that one super strongly nowadays, but I kind of like the tone of it, and I like what it's trying to do. The next one's similar. Rule 7, you may not use partial words such as delish or whatevs in class discussions. I'm going to go ahead and add vacay instead of vacation to that as well. That's just a personal thing. I just really dislike the partial words. If you've listened to me at all, if you've seen many of my videos, I have more of a tendency to use large words and to, I like to think I'm being eloquent, but frankly, I'm probably just rambling a lot of the time. And that's partially just because I enjoy words. I enjoy the knowledge that comes from them. And I'm a nerd and I like studying and I like learning new things. And so shortening words is just antithetical to how I like to process. Rule 8, regardless of the question, food is often the answer. I stand by this one 100%, totally true. It's a good day, celebrate with food. It's a bad day, you probably need some food to make it better. You're in a bad mood, blood sugar is probably low, get some food. You're in a good mood, have some food, ride that high. A huge portion of my daily joy is derived from food. So even when I'm working out and trying to be really healthy, I try to consume my calories very wisely, because so much of my joy day to day just comes from food in general. So yeah, awesome rule. Love it. Everyone should live their life by that rule. Rule 9, the teacher is king of the classroom. This one's particularly fun because it's referenced later on with some of the other ones. Mostly, I think I put this in there because it just kind of poked at and annoyed the kids a little bit in a humorous way. And sometimes I would say things and, just fun, make an edict, like this is what we're sticking with, we're drawing this thing today, no, you can't draw anything else. Well, why not? Well, go look at rule number 9. I mean, they'd stomp over to the rules, read it, and kind of evil eye me from the back of the room, and it would just, humorous situations would ensue. So yeah, rule number 9, it's a good one too. And I think that's where we're going to cut it for these. There are a lot of these. I don't know off the top of my head how many, but there's close to 100. So 9 on our first batch ought to be good. So thanks for tuning in today, and I hope that you found some of these humorous. Some of the baseline ones at the beginning are more standard. There will be some very strange ones as we go on, and I hope you guys will tune in for that as well. If you liked this, please feel free to subscribe or to like the video down below. It helps tremendously. If you have any rules from your classrooms growing up, your art classrooms growing up specifically, that you found kind of funny or nonsensical, please leave them in the comments below. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Have a good one, y'all. See you soon.